So Morgan Stanley released its 2025 watch report. There's been a lot of talk about it. A couple of things have really stood out to me that I wanted to talk about. So inside all the discussion of brands and changes, I think is a statistic that really strikes me. And it is that 89% of the industry's entire growth in 2025 came from watches that cost over $55,000. The higher end and getting into the much higher end of watches. And that's not 89% of revenue, that's 89% of the growth that is taking place in the Swiss watch industry is coming from these high-end expensive watches. And those watches represent only around 1.4% of the watches sold. So the entire engine of growth of one of the most iconic industries in the world is fueled by a very small percentage of ultra luxury buyers. And ultimately, I don't think that's just a watch story. I think that reflects larger changes that are happening in the world. So one of the key headlines, I think, is that the industry shrank overall during 2025. So exports were down about 1.7%. I think the more telling part of this is that since 2011, the export of Swiss watches has gone from 30 million to about 14.7 million. So about half as much over that time period. But another interesting part of that is the industry is actually making more money now than it did back then, shipping twice as many watches. So this isn't a dying industry. It's an industry that's transforming really to cater to the high-end and ultra-luxury buyer. Now, if you look at the report, as many have, I'm sure, you'll notice that Rolex continues to dominate the industry and a few other players as well. So the report estimates that Rolex generated about 20 billion in retail value in 2025. That's roughly equivalent to the retail value of Apple Watch, which is crazy because Apple is selling many times as many watches as Rolex. But Rolex is obviously selling them at a much higher price. And then we also have Cartier, which is also surging in popularity. We have Rolex and Cartier and a few other high-end luxury brands at the very top. And I think one of the unsettling things is that the middle of this industry is essentially being cut out. So there were about 10 brands that saw revenue drop by about 15% over this time. One of them being one of my favorites, Longines. I'm a big fan of Longines as a company, of their watches. It saw a significant decline in 2025 and has seen a decline over the past decade of their watch sales. The same goes for Omega, which is part of the same overall company within Swatch.